Article 1, Section 6. The senators and representatives shall receive a compensation for their services to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. They shall in all cases, except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place.
Now, for a second, I thought this thing was replaced by the 27th, but this isn't blue, so it's something different.
Yeah, no, this is still valid. I will note that treason, felony, and breach of the peace covers quite a lot of things you'd want to arrest someone for, but frankly, it covers quite a lot of things that I think some members of Congress should be arrested for. Though one of the ones I would have wanted arrested did just resign, thinking he was going to get to be Attorney General.
I forget the reason why, but yeah, it was a pretty bad reason.
Oh, I remember the reason why. Here's a hint to all of you people out there. Don't put on your Venmo receipts what you're paying the 17-year-old for. So, yeah, that's a man who should be arrested.
But no, he should be in charge of prosecuting other people.
Totally. Man. I saw something this morning that said that none of us get to suffer from imposter syndrome anymore, because clearly we're all qualified to be the secretary of whatever. But, I mean, technically, I suppose this means you can't even get a traffic ticket, provided you're on your way to Congress, because that's still a misdemeanor. You know, I know a lot of people who think that working in Congress should be pro bono, and number one, it can't be, because the Constitution says that they will get paid. And number two, it's already something that only rich people can afford to do. If you didn't even get paid for the work, what poor person would be able to afford to work as a congressperson all year?
Yeah, that's the one thing that's probably... I thought about going for Congress after this election, but I don't know, I can afford it to even get into this.
No, you would have to find backers. It's ridiculous how expensive it is. And I can't even say that I think the Founding Fathers, again, with our standard caveat about the Founding Fathers, but I don't think most of them would have disapproved of that, because I think they really did think that rich people were the best ones for the job, because obviously they were rich because something will of God, something elite, whatever, which is one of the most toxic ideas that we've carried down from them. But, you know, say what you want to about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and people have, but she is one of the lowest income people to run for Congress and win in a very long time. You know, she worked as a bartender.
How low income?
She wasn't rich.
Okay.
I don't think she was actually low income. I think she was middle class. But I also think the Democrats could have done more with the fact that Kamala Harris used to work at a McDonald's, because it points out that, yeah, she actually did understand the struggles of the kind of people who have to work at McDonald's. But Congresspeople get compensated because they're doing a job. And they deserve to be compensated. And they're already getting paid less than the lobbyists are. The lobbyists get paid a fortune. And so many of the ideas people have to fix Congress just make the lobbyists more powerful.
And aren't most lobbyists former congressmen, I heard?
Yes, they are.
Right, so the other one, uh, as long as you're going to and from work, you can't get arrested for minor crimes.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not enormously concerned about that.
Okay.
It's the founding fathers didn't and this is one of the ones where we can give it a universal. The founding fathers did not have a concept of traffic violations in the modern sense.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't. So that's one where it'd be like, yeah, I think Congress people should have to pay parking tickets. But beyond, huh?
I was like, it's be like, sir, do you know you're just ran 2 red lights? It's okay, okay, officer. I'm going to Congress. Okay, sir, go on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that should be an exception, but we can't get that an exception without a constitutional amendment, and that feels like a lot of work when there are much more important constitutional amendments I would like. And it's worth noting that most of the crimes that I know of, even historically speaking, from Congress, have been things that they could have gotten arrested for, even under this proviso. Charles Sumner was beaten nearly to death on the floor, I think of the House of Representatives, could have been the Senate, but on the floor of Congress, one way or another. It was during the slavery debate. And he had given a very, very impassioned speech using, let's say, language that was not positive towards sex workers. And saying certain things about people who followed slavery. And a Southerner who owned a lot of slaves broke a cane over him. That's a felony. He could have been arrested for that. And even if it weren't a felony, I think it counts as a breach of the peace. Actually, I would argue that traffic violations would count as a breach of the peace, but I think you'd have to really argue that one.
Has any of them done treason?
I mean, yes. I don't think any of them have been convicted, but yes. Giving insurrectionists a guided tour of the Capitol building feels like treason to me, but I guess technically that's sedition and not treason. But Aaron Burr, I don't think he was in Congress at the time, but Aaron Burr was basically planning to sell out the Congress to whoever, provided he got to be basically king of Florida. Aaron Burr was a weird guy. As far as the Civil War, that's one where, again, you have to argue the difference between treason and sedition. I would argue that some of the Congress people in the lead up to World War II could arguably been said to have committed treason because of their support of Nazi Germany. I don't think anyone was ever actually convicted of treason.
Well, you said it was the Civil War. They couldn't get back in after they left. They tried to.
Sure, I'm just saying that they definitely, all of the Southern Congress people, if you count. Because the difference between treason and sedition is treason is aiding the country's enemies, and sedition is from within. Okay. So treason and sedition gets very, very complicated in that time period. But if you count sedition as a subsect of treason, which I will hear arguments for, all of the Southern politicians who left Congress did so because they were committing treason.
So sedition would be like the Oklahoma bombings. It came from an inside person.
Right. Technically, what happened January 6, 2020 or 2021 was sedition, because it was an attempt to overthrow the U.S. government.
From people from
a bunch of Americans. We'll talk about Russian interference another time, or possibly not. But a bunch of Americans trying to overthrow the rightful workings of the U.S. government. That is sedition. But I think generally it would have been accepted that sedition counted for these purposes, not least because it's also a felony.
We talked more about this subject than I thought we would.
Well, treason is such a complicated topic.